Good morning and a nice welcome from the deep forest of the Bavarian woods. Today it's a very nice and special and I think hopefully for you entertaining episode of the DigiSofa, because when you see here my three guests, this is a part of the core team of the Digi Network. I think all the three that are today in the call or on the sofa are a part of the founder team. And also nice hello to Niels and to Søren. Who is today my guest? We have here on my right-hand side on the top, I start with the diversity guy, with Christian, because he is coming from HR, but he is not a typical HR guy. In his previous life, he worked in service, in production. He was our business partner for supply chain management in the HR department. Then he went abroad, very far abroad to Vienna, and took care about Eastern Europe. Since 1 or 2 years, he's back in Bavaria, and I'm so happy that I can say hello to Christian, who is the father of this whole Digi leadership topic. Then next is Melanie Appel, has a broad experience, and she, I think, started somehow in energy and here in several different units and moved to mobility. And we will learn more about mobility, and is now at Smart Infrastructure and is heading functional excellence there. And she is an original Berliner Kindle. So hello, Melanie. And last but not least, we have Priska. Priska is a member of the core team of the Digi Network at the moment. I think I don't know anybody who is more passionate about digital mindset than she is. And she was at that time working for digital industries. But in her previous lives, she was working at Bosch, always in the procurement area, also within Siemens, was a team lead, was working and heading several teams in indirect materials, and also drove this digital leadership topic during the rollout phase. So we have a common history. I could join this whole journey with Christian in the very beginning, the first 1 or 2 months, and I did something I don't like. We took care about administration. And then Christian took over and it boosted like hell. So Christian, why did you do this nice exercise, leadership in the digital age, or digital leadership, we call it that time? What is the reason behind?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Thomas, and also good morning from my side to the entire audience. I mean, it was 2017, and of course, a company like ours, we faced a lot of challenges and transformation over the last couple of years or decades. But at this time, it felt like a little bit different, and that was the starting point where we started to think about what is really different.
But what means different?
Different means that we saw in the external market that there were a huge change in terms of technology, and this change in technology also in combination with the change of the business model and the operations, a different venture capital structure leads to the point that a lot of more competitors are available, a lot of more partners available. And that was the starting point where we said, okay, they're a totally different environment. And it was not only about the what, it was also about the how.
I think regarding the how, it comes later, but what does it mean, and what does it especially mean, why leadership? Why don't start with tools and nice gimmicks?
I mean, we started not from scratch. There were a lot of already existing initiatives. So we had a mixed structure of a green and a brownfield approach. But what you can see on the background on the slide was that on the what part we were very strong. We not addressed all of the topic, of course, at this time, but on the how part, we missed a little bit our actions there, and we started to think about not about only the what, as I said, also how we are dealing with this new environment. And if we're talking about the how, then we're talking about that it happens in our heads. Yeah, it's not what happens on paper or on processes or on technology.
Okay, so starting with leadership and going to the head, maybe also a little bit to the heart. And regarding the how, now she comes to the party because she was the lead project together with a nice guy, Oliver, who couldn't be part of this journey today. But Melanie, why did you choose a people's subject in this upcoming digital area?
Yeah, first of all, hello from my side as well. Well, when we founded the Digi Network, we discussed mainly about technologies and processes because it seemed so natural to focus on all these topics where we could learn so much and explore, like blockchain at the time, RPA, all this fancy stuff. But I'm very convinced that we will only be successful if we focus on people-related topics as well. Yeah, and that's why I chose to work on the DigiLeader and conducted the first pilot in my organization, because for me, it's all about technology and people. It's both.
When it's both, so how did you implement this? Maybe it's worth to share a little bit of this experience.
Yes. So first we thought there must be something already available in this huge company. And before reinventing the wheel, we were searching for it. But then we didn't find what we were looking for. And so we said, hey, we are the Digi Network, then we are doing it ourselves. We're putting all together the proven content and additional content that we wanted to discuss. And then we came up with this interactive workshop format. Because for us, it was very important. It's not a new leadership training. It's an interactive workshop with the aim to create awareness about how roles are changing. So the role of the leader and the roles of the employees. So it's more about the reflection about what can I change? What do I have to change? But maybe what remains the same as well. And when we had this concept of this interactive workshop, we said, hey, let's go and just do 2 pilots by intention with the same content, but with very different formats, different organizations, and different target groups. So one target group was a management team, well established, everybody knew each other, so perfectly closed management team, I'd say. The other one was very open, so we opened it up for everybody who could apply for this workshop, and they applied across all hierarchies. And of course, a workshop with this format is pretty different to the other one. And both had pros and cons, and this was our intention to understand and learn from it. And after we did the 2 pilots, we said we don't have a rollout plan because it's not our intention to do it in the traditional way to roll it out. We wanted just to share our concept, our learnings, and then we hoped for a pull effect. And we had the chance to inform in our annual SCM conference about what we did. And then afterwards, fortunately, there was this huge pull effect. So immediately people approached us, wanted that we are conducting these workshops in their organizations. And this is when we said, hey, we need to train the trainer concept because our team is just too small. And to sum it up, after 1 month, we already had workshops outside of procurement, outside of SCM. 1 month later, we had the first international workshop. So I think it was Singapore at that time. And afterwards, even beyond Siemens. So going to external companies. And this is why I would say this was kind of a success story, and big thank you to the whole team. I think they did a great job.
So we were now talking a little bit about the how, and now we coming to Priska, because what is it all about? So a training for leaders, and then that's it. So Priska, what's the core, or what's behind this whole success story since 2017?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. So what is digital leader about? The term digital leader might be a little bit misleading because it's not about tools or technology. as pointed out by Melanie and Christian already. So it's really about which leadership style do we need in times of change, and especially in times of disruptive change. So what does it mean content-wise in the workshop? Because it's clearly not a training, as Melanie pointed out, it's really a very interactive workshop. So I would say there are three main parts in this concept, in this workshop. First of all, it's about setting the scene. So what is the overall context? What is digitization? What is digitalization and digital transformation about? We talk about VUCA and so on. So it's really about setting the scene and discussing about the why. Why are we in that specific workshop? And then the next step is about what does that now mean to us? What does it mean for people? What is the impact on all these changes on people? So that is the what part, I would say. And then finally, what do leaders now do with all these discussions we had? So what does it mean in terms of what kind of behavior is required from a leader in order to really shape an agile and an adaptive culture? So those are the three parts, I would say, the famous why, what, and how in the workshop.
So this why, what, and how, I think it's a part of the DNA with Klaus Staubitzer. He is walking the talk with the why, what, and how, and I think he's also a little bit torturing us, because with the three questions, you always try to get to the core. Now, for the chat community, as usual, the DigiSofa is always open for a very unscripted, interactive challenge. And now it's up to you. If you want to raise some questions, just type. I see there are a lot of people already there. Also, good morning and thanks for saying hello. But now I think we touched now the first 100,000 feet. And maybe we could go now a little bit deeper, maybe to 10,000 feet. So regarding our unscripted format, who is next? Who would like to take the challenge?
Yeah, maybe I can take the challenge to go a little bit deeper and reduce the 20,000 feet. So maybe we could have that a little slide showing our 6 different leadership roles that we introduce in the workshop. And maybe the term roles here might also be a little bit misleading, because it's more about leadership styles. So it's not about that those 6 roles are fixed roles, but it's more about what kind of leadership style is required. And I think it's also important to note that a leader or an influencer should be capable of switching between those roles, depending on the situation and the context that he or she is facing. And I don't want to go into each and every detail here. You can read what those roles or styles are about, but it's really about putting digital leadership into a new context and being aware of those new roles, reaching from, for example, being a coach of agile teams up to the vision translator. And as said, it's really context specific, and the leader should be able to swap between those different leadership styles. And talking about those leadership styles and behavior, maybe we can ask Melanie at this point, what was for you most, let's say, most exciting, most striking about this concept of digital leader?
Yes, thanks, Professor. I think I remember these roles quite well, because I remember these discussions, and some people thought, okay, I am either this role or that role. So sometimes you struggled a little bit, until we got the understanding, hey, it's elements, and of course you need combination and switch between roles. So what I really liked was more the picture with the 2 hands. So maybe we can bring up this slide as well, because this describes the ambidextrous leadership. So the one hand represents the so-called traditional leadership that we are all aware, like focusing on organization, hierarchies, processes, and execution. But you do see the other hand as well. And this stands for the so-called digital leadership, where it consists of networking and openness and agility and participation. And what I liked about this picture very much, it's not the one or the other. Actually, we need both hands and both leadership styles. And we might feel more comfortable with the one or the other, of course, yeah, but we need both. And like Christian said, actually, that's not really new, that different situations require different leadership styles. But what is new is the rapid changes in our environment. It's so much more volatile and uncertain and complex and ambiguous, as we all know, than it was 20 years ago. And that's why today, Priska, as you just said, it's really the challenge to be flexible using the one and the other hand, depending to the relevant or according to the relevant context. So Christian, maybe because I refer to you, asking you for your highlight in our digital journey.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. Maybe I start with my personal highlight. Yeah, I mean, there were so many highlights which we have seen over the last years as a team. For my personal highlight was that, of course, and to be very open and honest, I learned so much. I learned so much, and I was coming maybe also more from a traditional HR department and functions before. And now we had this great opportunity to do something different, and not as we already described on the what part, more on the how part, which touches our heart and our head at the same time. And this learning experience was very exciting for me to learn how we can do things different. And from an organizational perspective, one of my highlights was that it is not done. Yeah, and sometimes we call things like it is a journey or something like this. Yeah, and you don't know exactly what does this mean. It's a journey. Okay, well, they don't have a target or what they mean exactly. What we have seen over the last couple of years, that we had this initial idea together, and then we developed it continuously forward. And if I compare our first approach with that what we have now, it's different. It is really different, and this is not bad. Yeah, Thomas, you have a question?
I think I would like to jump on this different, because just finish your sentence, because then I have the first question coming from a guy from Northern Germany, and I think that fits totally into what you are telling. So just finish, please, and then we have the first challenge for you.
Okay, perfect. So it is different, and it's totally okay, due to the fact that we invited each and everybody to contribute. Yeah, to contribute, to develop it forward. It was not in stone, and it was not ours, limited to a small group. Yeah? And as Melanie already shared, we did it within procurement, but also outside, and not only the facilitation, also the further development. And there are so many ideas and thoughts from different colleagues are now part of the concept. So there I'm very proud for.
So thanks for this. And now I think I really like this question. I think Sönke, you really did you earn and the chocolate box in a smart way, because I would like to share this question with all three of you. I would like to start with Christian, then with Melanie, and then with Priska, with different aspects. And the question from Sönke is, as COVID is pushing digitalization and now remote work forward much quicker than expected, how do we react regarding the digital leadership framework and rollout? So I would have a question regarding HR to Christian, I think to Melanie, regarding how are you as a leader with a quite big team reacting to remote work, for example, and Priska, passionate about digital mindset. What are potential solutions for this?
Of course, maybe then I will start to try to answer that question from Sönke in that way that, of course, COVID-19 was or is still a catalyst for a lot of things, yeah, to do in a different way. Virtual collaboration or virtual working is one part of that, and we also have seen that a lot of things have changed in terms of leadership, collaboration, communication, etc. And I personally believe that the main elements which we have seen on the slide, which Priska shows, with the different roles, the aspects, are still valid for that situation. And I think we are well prepared with that roles to do things different, to behave different. Yeah, thank you to bring up the slide here again. And all that, or some of that elements, are still counting as well for COVID-19. And as I said, we have continuously developed this forward, and also our current leadership narrative within Siemens, we have a lot of elements which helps us to cope with that situation now and also in the future.
Yes,
So
then I might.
HR, you?
Yeah.
Now, Melanie, with your team, how are you dealing with remote work as a leader?
Yes, thanks. So for me personally, just speaking about myself, I must say it didn't change too much for me because I'm used to this since 2015. I had a team that was located in UK, in Germany, in different locations in the US. So independent if I am able to meet some persons, I do have to lead my team virtually. But what I recognized is that when it came to the pandemic and everybody was forced to sit at home, sometimes I had the feeling now we are a little bit more on eye level because everybody met in Teams or on the virtual way and everybody put on a camera. Back then, sometimes it was just me because I thought at least you can see me. When you're somewhere, you can see me. I don't see you. It would be helpful to see you. But well, it was different then. Now everybody is so used to, and I think even when I think of mobility, we had somebody from Sacramento, from California, but from China as well. And everybody was in the same room, which was not the case before when we Germans met in a room in Munich, for instance, and the other ones were just remote. Right now in my team, it's still very virtual. Of course, it's located in Switzerland or in the Czech Republic and in the US as well. So I think for me personally, I really do enjoy having the possibility to meet the team. On the other hand, I see that people who are used and who were used to go into the office every day, for them it was a big change. And then, of course, you need to understand and help and support and coach and do whatever, because not everybody was used to do like this. But now I could say that at least I have the perception that we as a team have grown together, even virtually. Because when I changed from mobility to smart infrastructure, I had a team of 30 people, and what did I do? I scheduled 30 one-on-one meetings with everybody to get them to know in virtual way. And this is how I did my onboarding, and for me, it worked pretty well.
So thanks for sharing this experience. So nothing new for you. And now coming to Priska, which I would say this topic rollout may be a little bit more in the focus.
Yeah, so the rollout of the workshop concept itself, we have to be honest, we started this concept with on-site workshops. So we really met in a place. We often try to find really nice locations to get out of the typical office surroundings, and really had great on-site workshops. And I personally also had the chance to travel to the US, to China and the UK, and really meet people in person there, which is great. And I remember discussions we had back in January 2020, so shortly before COVID arrived. And we wanted to roll out Digital Leader even more in the US, so even reach more people there. But we knew from the beginning it's going to be hard to only have physical workshops there, because obviously it's a big country, it would have been very cost intense, so how should we do it? And I suggested, why not try virtual workshops, or at least let's split it. Let's do partly physical, partly virtual workshops, do a combination of it. And there were some people who were really open to that and really positive, let's just try it out. Some people were more skeptical. And then 2 months later, COVID came. And we had the same discussion for, Thomas, you remember, for our digital mindset concept, which we also plan to roll out with on-site workshops. And then with COVID, giving us totally new perceptions, we just did it in a virtual environment. and set up this really engaging workshops using, of course, different tools and means like digital whiteboards and so on. And I personally think this really gave us even more speed, because in a shorter period of time, we were able to reach even more people. And just naturally telling people, showing them in these workshops how it is like to work with virtual tools, and just by incorporating it into the concept. So from that perspective, COVID really gave us a new spark and really sped up this process here, doing it virtual.
I think thank you for this nice explanation, because for the outside world, Priska don't see the chat. So it's at the moment me. And some time ago, so 2 or 3 minutes ago, there was a question from Igor that fits totally into this story. And her question is, do you plan to adjust the content of the digital leadership training to the hybrid model? If yes, how? First of all, before I hand over to the team there, definitely we would like to do it. Priska mentioned now Digital Mind as a success story. And I think here we have already now, within 1 year, more than 1,000 people. With Digital Leader, we needed a little bit longer to cover 1,000 people. So digitalization helps. Work model, Igor, there are 2 facets. One is incorporating the new normal or new work, or to do a workshop purely virtual. And the topics or feedbacks we got with Digital Mind, this virtual workshop is better than a real workshop, because we bring people together from across Europe in the beginning, what wouldn't have been possible before. So I translate now the question to this hybrid work model. I think we start again with Christian, and to all of you outside Siemens, we are at the moment preparing something like this in a conceptual phase. If somebody would like to join and to support and to work on developing a hybrid model, you're more than happily invited to join us to do this exercise. We know it will be a challenge. We will have growth mindset and empower people as core. And if there are volunteers, and that's the principle of the Digi Network, more than happy to integrate you. So Christian, what do you think about training to a hybrid work model?
I mean, as we already heard today, we have adjusted the concept already over the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm totally sure that we will also adjust that to our new working environment, which we face maybe after the pandemic situation. I mean, at the moment, we are still in a pandemic mode. So we're doing a lot of remote things. We're working remotely. We are not meeting so often in the office space, but we're still waiting for this hybrid model. And I'm totally sure that we will adjust that. From my personal perspective, I think a lot of the content is already there, which can be used in a hybrid way. It depends a little bit on the group, to be honest. Also, which group we want to go with that approach. Is this an international group? Is this a group, a team, or is that a mixed team from different organizations? So you cannot say easily yes or no. It depends. That is maybe the answer, but it depends means also that we have everything to do it as well in the hybrid mode.
Okay. A very diplomatic answer. Would you like to add something, Priska? Because I have already 2 questions for you after this.
Okay. Well, basically, I can just underline what Christian said. We have everything there, and it is ready to be transferred into either a hybrid model or a purely virtual model. Of course, you always have to dig really deep into the formats that you're using, and not each and every format which is good in the physical world can also be done in the virtual one. But then you just have to find another solution. and see how you can engage people virtually. Sometimes it's just by using other tools and other formats. But content-wise, everything's there. And I think we have all experienced over the last 1.5 years that so much things can be done very well in the virtual world. And that applies to digital leader format or workshop as well.
Okay, Melanie, something to add, or should I jump to the next question?
Please jump.
Wonderful, Priska, because I jump now again on this topic, and there's a nice question from Dhanashree. And as you were the workshop lead with this external company, and the question was, what were the biggest distinguishing factors between Siemens and external companies that you realized when you conducted this workshop outside of Siemens? So were there some distinguishing factors, and what was your personal view?
Well, first of all, my personal view was that it was really so much inspiring to have that exchange with externals and to see where they are currently with the digital transformation. And I think I also realized that we're also quite good on our way to digital transformation, especially with our bottom-up approaches that we have from the Digi Network, for example. And I think that's something that externals can also learn from us, so that we were able to show to them how did we do it, what could be applied in your company as well. I think that was definitely something where others benefited. But also, of course, the other way around, we also learned a lot from the externals, because each company has a different way of tackling that digital transformation. And as we are also going with the bottom-up approach, that was definitely one core element of our discussion, I would say. What do you think, Thomas? You were also part of that workshop we did externally.
I have a similar observation like you. For me personally, it was, again, a real value to be outside of Siemens, because I spent some time of my working life outside Siemens. And we got a very good confirmation that we are quite good on track. And I think that's where I have to say thank you to Christian, to Melanie, and to Oliver, because there was nothing existing on the market at the time. Therefore, we developed it by ourselves. And Siemens Berlin Campus supported us because they couldn't get something there. And the different factor was, I think, my point of view, even more appreciated from an external company that we had something innovative like this. And to be quite honest, we stopped digital leadership with COVID-19 because, as Priska mentioned, you need an owner who is then also transferring into the virtual world. And that's what we're trying to do now with this question from Igor. So that was my experience. I would have now a question from Doreen to Melanie. And that's a quite operative, daily relevant question. Your question is, unfortunately, activating the camera during a meeting is not a common action with my unit. Any tips how to motivate colleagues and management to switch on camera?
The important and the right word in this question is motivate. At least this is what I have experienced. Because in the beginning, when I switched on the camera, I expected others to switch on the camera too. And then I was kind of disappointed. Why didn't they do that? And then I saw slides where you can put up rules for meetings, for workshops, and that you can just say, yeah, please switch on your camera. And of course, you can do that. I'm not sure if this is the wisest way. I think communicating about this one, talking and explaining why I appreciate doing this sometimes helps more, because sometimes you see the nodding faces and then you just go on, and sometimes you see the question marks in the eye, yeah, and then you think, okay, I go a little bit deeper into my answer. it's like in the real world. And for me, it's such a value add that at least in my environment, many people are switching it on. In our management team, we discussed this question pretty openly and we said, hey, shall we keep it on if we are meeting for hours and hours and hours? And we said, yes, if we are talking to each other like we are doing right now, yes, of course, we will do this. If then there's a presentation and we are all looking at slides and you would just see this small picture somewhere, then we can switch it off due to bandwidth and so on. Some people had kids at home for homeschooling. Sometimes that's an issue. And this, I would say, you need to respect as well. I wouldn't say that everybody has to, because there might be good reasons why people cannot or don't feel comfortable. But what I would like to suggest is go ahead, be kind of a role model, even if it feels awkward if you're the only one. Maybe you will find some person to join, and then in the journey and the time along, then things might change.
Thanks, Melanie. I will jump now the question from Orwell. I will come back to this later. It will be a question for Christian, because what you just mentioned, there was a good question from Igul, and I think the four of us should answer it. And I will start, and then I would say we go with Priska, Christian, and then Melanie. And her question is, what are your personal role models in digital leadership, internally or outside of Siemens? Thank you. So my personal role model regarding digital leadership is my boss, Klaus Staubitzer. And why? Because he's switching, for example, since we have online meetings, the camera always on. He's always well prepared. He's fitting and keeping the agenda. He respects different opinions and gives them time to explore. And that's the operational topic. At the end of the day, why I'm also enthusiastic about this style, he enabled or he pushed the Digi network, so a bottom-up experiment. And I think I'm not aware of any who started this experiment already in 2017. So that's my digital leadership role model. Outside, I will be a little bit more careful and smaller, because there's, for example, but one guy where I'm really impressed, and that's the new CEO of Microsoft. We had the chance to talk as the Digi Network with some of the senior management of Microsoft. When he introduced the growth mindset at Microsoft, he moved the whole company around. And when you talk with the people in Redmond, they are so passionate about this new change. And when you see about Microsoft, what they're doing, it's not PowerPoint anymore. It's much, much bigger. So this would be my two role models. So now, next in line, Priska, who is your personal role model?
Well, I think I could mention several people here, but honestly, and I'm not saying this to flatter someone, but I think Christian, for me, is really walking the talk when it comes to digital leadership. And Christian is not my boss, but I think Christian is really an absolute front runner and influencer, and really, walking the talk here. For example, when it comes to the famous term, sharing is caring. And we use that quite often. And what does it mean? To really share information, share learnings, share also failures openly within the organization. And Christian is perfectly doing that, for example, with a digital leader concept and all the document. And I know that he puts so much effort into that, and he's just openly sharing that. For example, in Yammer, so that everyone can make use of the slides, adapt them, put it in his own context. So to me, Christian is really walking the talk here, and that's what makes him so credible when talking about a digital leader. And maybe talking about externals, as far as I can judge, I mean, it's always a little bit tricky to judge from the outside. But what I've seen so far is that the Otto Group, for example, they are really, or they have undergone and are still undergoing, of course, also a huge transformational process, which is really being accompanied by the leaders there. And as far as I can judge it from external, they are really walking the talk when it comes to digital leadership. and putting that kind of behavior really into practice.
Thanks. Christian,
Yeah.
how is a role
First of
model? Who is your role model? But I can only agree to what Priska is saying.
First of all, thanks, Priska. And as I thought about that question, the first person who came in my mind was also Klaus Stabitzer, due to the fact that he gave us the opportunity in 2017. But then Thomas already mentioned Klaus. And then I thought, okay, in 2017, what was also different? And I want to name Thomas here. And as I said, Thomas said at the beginning, I was the business partner at this time for supply chain management. And if the initial idea comes up to set up a kind of a digi network, we have to do something different. Yeah. And then Thomas was the person who was the driver of the management team of supply chain management. And you know that you hear a lot of things about people, if you don't work so closely together, you have some assumptions, maybe you have also some understanding, some feelings about persons, and it starts you start to collaborate, and you start to think, you start to work together, and to be very open and honest, to see what has Thomas created out of that SCM Digi network over the last 3 to 4 years. That is really amazing for me. And it's also, to be very honest, and Thomas knows that also, and I tell him this sometimes, it's not every time easy to work with him. Yeah, so it's sometimes really challenging. Yeah. But what he's driving and how he is approaching things, and also that format here, the DigiSofa, that's really amazing. So this is, to answer that question on the one part, so it's really Thomas, and it's also the journey or the development with Thomas, which we did over the level of years. And to be a role model, maybe not outside, but maybe in our new environment where I'm now in, it's factory automation. And there our CEO, Rainer Brehm, how he is approaching things, how he's driving transformation in that automation business with all of the different circumstances which we have, the success over years, yeah, the technological challenges, etc. This is really amazing to see how we are driving that, and automation is one of the biggest parts within Siemens, and to do this in a very sustainable but also successful way, that is really a big thing.
Christian, I feel a little bit ashamed. Thanks for the flowers. Yeah, I just take it. But I have to agree, it's not always easy with me, but it wouldn't have been possible with all of you. And I think the one person that's missing here on top is Leanne, because with Priska and Leanne and walked the hard way. Melanie, now your two names.
Yes, actually, I don't have the one person I would like to name right now, but I would like to mention the Digi Network as the community. Because for me, a leader and a role model doesn't have to be one person and doesn't have to be one who carries a title. For me, this community represents everything that I would think of when it comes to digital leadership. Everybody who is engaging there, in their sometimes spare time, sometimes in business time, but they are so willing to push this community and everything that we are dreaming of and trying to work hard to let the dreams come true. Everybody who's engaging there is, for me, part of this. Because when I think of our very, very first meeting when we were founding this Digi Network, where we didn't really knew what we should do and where to go, and we need to define everything, we had a nice combination of working students, employees with a long history, with a short history, even senior management. So it was a very diverse group. And if I see how this developed over the time and what good things are coming out of this community, for me, this is really kind of a role model where I'm really happy that we are driving this one all together.
Thanks. We have 50 minutes left, and I'm again on my road to kill the agenda because we have some very interesting questions still left. I try to cover all of them. I have a special question to Christian later, one to Melanie, and now one to Priska and Christian together. And it's from Urbil, and it's about the culture aspect. How has been your experience as a digital leader or regarding digital leadership with regions? Do you have some exciting experiences?
Yes.
Priska, do you want to go first? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I shortly pointed at it earlier. So I had the chance to facilitate some workshops in the US, in China, and in the UK. So obviously totally different cultures. And I think what is really most important is, as a moderator or facilitator, to be able to let go a little bit. So of course we do have a very detailed agenda. But it's much more important to really listen to the participants, to listen what is important to them, what are their pain points, what would they like to discuss about, rather than sticking really to each and every minute of the workshop. And that's really something that I learned, especially in the first workshops that I facilitated. And for example, the workshop in the UK was really, I think we killed the agenda in the first 10 minutes because the discussion was so lively, and there were critical voices, of course, but very positive voices as well. And I think that's one of the most important aspects when you go to other countries, roll it out with different cultural backgrounds, to have that feeling for what kind of vibe is in the room and what do the people need, what moves them.
Thanks. Christian, being responsible for Eastern Europe, that's a little bit abroad. What's your experience?
Of course, as Priska already said, from a regional perspective, there are differences, and we have to take care of that. But cultural transformation has a lot of different aspects. What does this mean? How we transform a culture maybe within the company, independent from a regional aspect. And one of the topic what we already heard was that sharing is caring topic. And of course, this is like kind of a buzzword, yeah. But the invitation, the openness, to share everything, and that means as well all the documents, all the video material, agenda, everything, really everything. It was not hidden, it was not secret, and again the invitation to each and everybody to contribute, to develop it forward. This was also a very big cultural change within the entire company, which we not had before, and maybe you know that from your own working environment or from your own company. If you're not from Siemens, you do something and then you get some answers. Yes, of course you can have this, but only in this format. I cannot share the original with you. Yes, we have developed that, but feedback was not really honored, and this is, I think, what we did different from the beginning of the development, and that was a huge lever in terms of a cultural transformation as well.
Well, thanks for you both. Over small comment from my side. It's not about the regions, it's about the leader and the person. And that's my biggest takeaway, because the regions, the people, I don't see a big difference regarding our community, between UK, Europe, China, and hi Michael, and the US. So I have a small question from Walter Fussi, and you will get an answer like Christian mentioned. That's not so easy to digest for you, Walter, because he is emphasizing why don't we approach universities and do more with them. You're more than happily invited from myself that we do it together and do something with universities. Talent acquisition is a part of our HR department. There are good guys there. Maybe you get in contact with them. But if you support, then we can do something together. I think that's about the ownership culture. I would have now a dedicated question to Christian from Andy. How would you act being in a situation with a boss who is not convinced of the digital leadership concept? I don't accept the solution to move into another position.
That is a very tricky question. What I'm seeing more and more in the company, that the people or the leaders who are not convinced about the change in terms of leadership, they're getting less. So more and more people are convinced. So it's also a time perspective, but I think that will not fix or help Andy for his current situation. But at the end, as what he already said, to change the position is not his solution. But what we see more is the movement rate, where people move from leaders which are not going in the new way of leadership, where they not try out new things, they're increasing much more. So, and with that, I think you cannot change your boss in terms of that you can force him to do something different. Maybe it's a combination of motivate to do think by example, or to leave to another department. And with that entire transformation, we will see more and more leaders who are going more in that direction. And we have already a lot of them who are going in that direction. So, but there is no one plan, and maybe this is also something which we figured out. If there only one single answer to do that, then it would be easy. Yeah, maybe that was more a little bit in the past. There was one problem, one answer, and one way to go. And now we have multiple challenges. We have maybe more than one answer, and we have more than one solution. Yeah, but at the end, I would like to recommend, if it not will work, to motivate him, to convince him by examples, then to leave that organization or that department if it's not satisfying for you.
So it's coming back to the good old three-word statement: take it, change it, or leave it. It's a little bit different compared to the leadership roles with the 6. If we have some time, I can also reflect on this, because I made here also some hard experiences. And now I would have a question for Melanie from Jill Francisco. How do you onboard or convince digital skeptical persons?
Yes, onboarding them is a good way of starting, trying to get them on board with others, and listen to their arguments, to what they see in their world, because we all might live in the same Siemens, in the same building, but then people are coming to the same table and they have a very different perception. And if you start with listening, what this person thinks, why this is not the right way, or what's hindering, then you can go into the discussion, and maybe not coming up with solutions, but asking questions and letting this person reflect. Actually, this is something that we did in the Digital Leader, because some participants came there and said, hey, where's the new content? So what's new? Yeah, tell me what I have to do. And maybe it was everything wrong that I did in the past, or what's the new things that I should do right now? And then we came up with, hey, so let's have the questions, let's reflect on each other, and then start the discussions. And it was so helpful having the discussions amongst each other. This is what I liked, Priska, when you were elaborating a little bit on the workshops. Sometimes just let it go, because there's the value when the participants exchange amongst each other. And of course, you are the moderator and you have the target in your mind and you keep track of the group, but let the participants develop themselves. And this is something that I would answer here in this question as well. Listen, understand, reflect, exchange, and then I'm very optimistic and positive that most of the people will join, and very important, voluntarily. You cannot force anybody. If you force somebody in this digital leader workshop, I can tell you it will not be the right thing. It will be the wrong decision.
Thanks. Can only agree what you're saying. We got in the chat another hint how to deal with the camera topic from Luis Rita, and I think it's a great solution, a proposal. He or she, Luis Rita, that's difficult regarding diversity. The experience experience was work with starting to invite the people with the camera on for some virtual coffee breaks. And then after this, people get used to work with camera. I really like this idea. I would now get to a kind of summary, closing, a short question from Kartik to Priska. And I will then jump also on this, but it's mainly you, Priska. Now, what are the challenges and plan to percolate the concept of digital mindset and leadership to the maximum colleagues?
Sorry, could you repeat? It's about how to roll it out to the maximum of colleagues?
Percolate, I would say to spread it and to give it to a maximum of colleagues and peoples.
Mm-hmm. So I think what is really one of the key elements here, and we just shortly touched on that, is our train the trainer concept that we applied both to digital leader and also to the digital mindset concept. So of course, it's a small group of people, like for digital leader here, Melanie, Christian, and other people who piloted it, but then as soon as possible, handed it over, like with a snowball effect, to more and more trainers from within the organization. And that is, for me, also absolutely key to both concepts, that we were able to motivate or find motivated people from within the SCM organization or also other functions who are not trained moderators from the beginning, but who are open to take this challenge and to moderate new workshops. And I think that's really one of the key aspects here, because you cannot roll it out at large scale just with 5 moderators. That is not going to work. So really letting it go to the organization, handing it over, including more and more people, and also people from the region, from the different countries and cultures, because that's how you make such concepts also credible to the people worldwide.
Can I add something, Thomas?
Yes, please.
And to that what Priska said, and also to share a little bit what we did different. Maybe in the past, it was at the beginning, you spend a lot of time and effort for a rollout plan. You planned, you have seen, you have so many leaders, you have so many countries, departments, and then you plan. And you spend a lot of time and a lot of effort. But if we all agree that we are more and more in this unpredictable environment, we skip that. So skipping means not that we don't have an idea. The idea or the answer of that was that what Priska has explained. It was the train-the-trainer concept with the snowball effect. And I think this is also a good example. If we're talking an unpredictable environment and uncertainty, don't spend time too much in the planning at the beginning. Be aware there is something that could come, but start to do it if it comes, not at the beginning.
Thanks for the trainer, because I'm passionate about this, and I think the basis for a robust trainer concept is the principle of the appointed volunteers, because nobody wanted to start it, so we had to appoint volunteers, and it worked quite well. So before I come to a closure, I would like to comment a little bit Aditi's question regarding being productive, yes or no. Regarding Siemens, I cannot judge. Regarding virtual collaboration within SCM, I think pandemic helped us. Valeria had a good question about how the digital fit between employees were quite good and who have, say, a long way to go. Here we try to support these kind of people with the Digital Mind workshop that's free of charge, and everybody's invited. And before I get to a closure to this DigiSofa, and before I hand over to the last words to my guests, I have to mention 2 things. Our tech guy, Daniel, in the background, as usual, we don't have a studio, we have only Daniel. Daniel will go now to parental leave for the next 2 months. So Daniel, enjoy the time with your son and your spouse. And I hope you have a lot of fun in your garden challenge. I'm a little bit aware what's going on. So that's a huge challenge. But Daniel, hopefully you come back. Thanks for brilliant technical support. We learn now that what we are doing here with Vimeo and vMix is now the standard in professional areas. We started about 4 years ago. Thanks, Daniel. And what I'm missing, and I'm really disappointed, we had also some external support in the very beginning for some 4 weeks. And it was Christian Machalak from Capgemini Consulting at that time, and a little bit Kai Hasenkleber. Hey guys, you're not brave. No single question. I'm really disappointed. You have to work on your mindset. We would offer you a free of charge training within digital mindset experiences, and your feedback would be highly appreciated. And before I come to an end, I would hand over the last words to say Melanie, Christian, and then Prescott.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Thomas. I just came back from vacation, saw your invitation, and I thought, hey, that's a challenge, but I'm very happy to be invited here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, also thank you from my side, Thomas. Also for me, first time on the DigiSofa, you challenged me again, and it was a really great experience. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much also from my side. Great to be here on the sofa, and I hope we show that bottom up is really key to the digital transformation.
So nothing to add. Thanks for you being such brilliant guests, and thanks to the community asking some brilliant questions. And again, the invitation is on. If you want to join, to work with us together, just contact us. We're more than happy to take you on our digital adventure trip. And I think this adventure trip, there's only one guarantee: it will never end. And we try to have a lot of fun. So being again late for 1 minute, I'm trying to get better. I have to say to thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy summer, and hope to see you soon back in 2 weeks, 2 months and 1 week. Bye.
Goodbye.